Well, there is. I got pointed to a video done by a pilot who sat in a plane at Dulles Airport in New York or wherever it is, and he is running you through procedures and stuff in his cockpit. Right, and he's firing up one inertial reference system, so a ring laser gyro. Alright, he's got three of them. One, he sort of explains, one's for pitch, one's for yaw, one's for roll, and all the rest of it. So he's got all the other ones turned off and the GPS turned off, and he's firing up just one inertial reference system. Now, what we know so far and what we've heard is of these ring laser gyros is that the high-end Honeywell type gyros pick up a 15-degree rotation. Now, I wouldn't have believed it unless I'd heard it from Bob and Flat Earth Core and all the rest of it, FE Core. But I sure as hell can't explain their position of saying that it's measuring the ether rotation.
Oh, of course it is.
Rather than the I struggle with that explanation, because I'm like, well, how can it, how anyway
So is that what this is about?
This is that's an umbrella. That's an umbrella. It's an umbrella broad line of what it is.
It's an itty bitty bit of the problem, yeah.
Yeah, well, after watching this, I now do think it is the ether that it's measuring and not the speed of the Earth, and I'll explain why. Right, so this guy is in Dulles Airport, and he lies to his flight management system, the plane, and he tells it that he's on a different longitude, right out in the middle of the Pacific. Okay, so hold on, before I get to that, I can understand, right, if this thing is measuring the speed of the Earth's rotation, it would be able to work out what latitude it was at. It was at, yeah. And similarly, if it was measuring the ether rotation, it would also be able to work out what latitude it was at. What it wouldn't be able to do is work out what longitude it's at. So he tells it it's somewhere in the Pacific, but it's on the same latitude as Dulles Airport, right? And initially, because the plane remembers that the last time it was turned on it was at Dulles, it throws up an error and says, no, that can't be right. And the pilot can then input the manually the latitude and longitude again to say, no, I'm pretty sure that's where I am. And once he does that, then the plane goes, okay, fair enough, you're in the middle of the Pacific and you're on this latitude. So he hasn't lied about the latitude, but he can fool the plane into accepting that that is where it is, even though the plane doesn't remember being there or how it got there. So then he lies to it again and puts it on the right longitude of Dulles, but he puts it out by 2 degrees, right? So instead of 38 degrees north, he puts in 36 degrees north. And because the plane doesn't remember getting to 36 and it remembers it was in Dulles, it throws up an error, right? Yeah. So he puts it 2 degrees below Dulles, and the thing throws up an error. And so he re-inputs the two degrees below, just like he did re-input it over when he said he was in the Pacific, and it accepted it. He re-inputs the 2 degrees below and it doesn't accept it. It says, that's not right, so I must be wrong, I'm going into failure mode. Okay, and it shuts itself down. Right? And this is when you can't fool it along its latitude, but you can fool it upon its longitude. Then, now here's the, before you butt in, here's...
No, just so I can clarify.
Okay, yeah.
You can't fool it north to south.
No, you can't fool it, along the latitude line. Right, so it's measuring something.
North to south. at all.
Yeah.
But you can fall it east to west.
Yeah, because if you think about it, and it's a spinning gyro, and it is picking up some rotation. Let's assume we're on a ball and it's picking up rotation. Then it would be able to calculate in the 6 minutes that it's aligning. It would be able to calculate at what latitude it's at, wouldn't it? Because it would sense the speed of the Earth underneath it, and it would say, you know I'm at latitude 38 because speed of ball equals such and such. But you can't, it can't work out longitude in any way, shape or form, can it? Because there's no way of determining the longitude that you're on, the meridian that you're on, just by, even if you know what speed the ball is spinning. Yeah. So
what that says to me is that with regards to its internal stabilizers, its internal gyroscopes, it is pretty fucking certain there is no margin of error in north to south. What it is saying is that clearly, and this is quite good for flat earthers, for me, that actually within the computer program that has been written for the computer, whether it should shut down or not, it says north and south, if you fuck about, we're fucked. I'm fucked. Something's wrong. East and west, actually there's a level of tolerance that I'm prepared to be corrected on.
Yep, absolutely. Now the
That's
next
programmed
thing
by a human being.
Yeah, totally. But the next thing he does is what I didn't expect him to do as a die-hard baller. The next thing he does is lies to the FMS again and tells it that he's at 38 degrees south on the right latitude, on the right meridian, at 38 degrees south. So he's put himself exactly the opposite place in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you would be thinking, and I was thinking at this point, because I'm pausing it, thinking, trying to understand this thing, and this guy's.
Let me give my supposition on.
Go on then.
Before you tell me the outcome, and then that might be more. So, if we're on a ball model, then the computer may assume it's got positive and minus and it's mixed up, and accept that. Some whatever glitch reason. If we're on a flat plane model, then its adjustment calculations will. South of the equator is no different to 1, 2, 3 degrees north variations. 1, 2, 3 degrees south is a growing variance in a growing circle, and therefore it's a variance it's not prepared to accept, because it will massively change the light variation output. But if you're on a ball, a return backwards towards it would give you an equivalent variance, and therefore it would be only a positive negative variance, not a numerical variance.
Yeah, absolutely. So the fact that you could fool it and it would accept that it was in the middle of the Pacific, it is cool with them, because that's longitude and you can't determine longitude. So when this guy transports it to 38 degrees south, and he keeps saying that this thing is measuring the turn of the Earth, right? The speed of rotation of the Earth. So if he put it 38 degrees south, then on a ball the computer would be measuring the same speed as it would be measuring at 38 degrees north.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Okay. And that's what I thought as well. And I thought to myself, oh shit, if this thing it can fool it because it's measuring the speed of the Earth, then how do I explain this? I was thinking, how the fuck do I explain this? So it throws up an error, as all the other ones did, because it doesn't match where it last was fired up. It doesn't know how it got to 38 south or whatever. So it throws up an error. giving the pilot the opportunity to put the coordinates in again. So he puts the coordinates in again, 38 degrees south, and it shuts down and fails and says, nah, not having that.
So I'm right then.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
38 degrees south, the rotational speed and variation is the same as 38 north.
Yep. So
therefore, it'd be a positive negative difference, as I was describing.
well, what it tells me is that this thing is measuring something that it can determine its latitude by, and the reason it failed at 38 degrees south was because 38 degrees south is a world away from 38 degrees north. Let's say the ether is turning at 500 miles an hour at 38 degrees north. At 38 degrees south, it would be turning at, 1,050 miles an hour or 1,500 miles an hour, whatever.
Yeah.
But if it was on a ball, you should have been able to trick it. You should have been able to say, well, you're travelling at the right speed for this latitude. I'm giving you the longitude, which is irrelevant anyway, because you'll accept whatever longitude I give you. But you should have been able to fool it. But the fact that you couldn't shows that it's not measuring the speed of the ball, it's measuring the speed of something else.
Yes, exactly.
Speaks volumes that this was experimented on 100 years ago with Sagnac, and I think it's Michelson Gale, I think maybe 1925, and it was universally agreed that they measured a 15 degree per hour rotation, but
no,
you would think that would make it to the science books. That would be the number one proof. Look at this experiment, it shows us. But they don't say anything about that experiment. They keep stum about it. They knew back then that it didn't measure the Earth's rotation. They knew it measured something else, and I think they set out to actually measure that something else. Which
the light experiments, it's the combination of those.
Yeah, the Aries failure, yeah.
That, coupled with the fact that we know it's rotating, means two things logically. Yeah? It means they're rotating above us, yeah? And so is the whole universe. Everything, the whole fabric of space-time, to use their language, is rotating around us. Around the Earth. The Earth's static.
Yeah.
As biblically described, it is so static.
And we know it's going around Polaris as well, so that means they can put a speed on it where you can calculate your latitude relative to the North Pole. That's how this IRS knows so conclusively to shut itself down if it's not put on the right latitude. But you can put it anywhere on any meridian around, but it's the latitude that counts. But it should have been able to be fooled if you put it on the equal and opposite latitude, if it was only measuring Earth spin.
If it's only measuring the rotational difference as it would affect the light rays, then there should be no difference.
Yeah, that's what I think is quite important.
The only thing I qualified that with is the positive negative integer, and there may be something there, but as you think
that's it.
There isn't, because you're allowed to freely move along the longitudinal line, and therefore the rotation is in the same direction, and therefore it is that just adjustment of the effect of the Sagnac experiment with regards to light rays that you pick up. Now, if that's the case, that equipment is programmed to detect that there's something different in terms of the size of the circle that it's experiencing, that the light is being affected through, and that's how it works. I mean, there isn't a difference in the size of the circle at those latitudes.
No, so it shouldn't know. They're both going west to east. They're both going the same speed, and they're both pointing in the same direction. So how on earth would it know whether it's north or south? And yet the pilot can't override it and say, no, this is actually right. But he can override it when he puts it in the middle of the Pacific, but on the right latitude. So it convinced me that these things are picking up a movement, but it also convinced me that that movement is not the Earth's rotation. So, I asked this guy, I commented on the video and said, you know, do you mind if I commentate on this, if I use it for commentary? Did you see the reply?
That's the bit I did read on the loo today. What did that mean then?
Let me have a look at it. Okay, you read it on the loo. That's nice. That's
the only moment I get. Okay.
I know what you mean, mate. Okay, so I said hi 53C52. That's obviously his call sign. Can I mirror this and use it for commentary? And he comes back and says, no, you may not. Paul on the Plane's interview with Zach, the 29-year pilot, is full of inaccuracies, and I do not wish to be associated with a channel that would choose to mirror dishonest content like that without bothering to check the veracity of any of Zach's claims or his qualifications. This video addresses just 2 of the BS claims in that interview and should make it quite clear that Zach is not being truthful. And then interesting below, you know this guy, Walter Bislin, he says...
Yes, that's the bit I remember.
He says,
I
yes.
remember thinking on the loo, oh, is that the real Walter Bislin?
He says, thank you very much for this elaborate demonstration. No questions left. And I thought, yeah, there you go. No questions left. No thinking need be done here.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
So then below it had a comment as well saying, the mere fact that this excellent video at the present only has 21 views says a lot about the Flat Earth movement and their zeal for the quest for truth. For I have posted links to here on various of their websites, and yet they do not come here and offer any counter argument as to just how that inertial reference system is figuring out heading. Is it because they have no answer as to just how it does that, or rather they don't even understand the significance of what these results mean, nor the process that produces them? They love to claim game over or 100% proof on their videos. Where are they now with a video that might, to large extent, rightly make similar claims? And he replies, the 53C52, they tend to focus more on seeking rather than finding. There's a certain finality to truth finding that seems to scare them off. Right, so I mean, this guy's saying, where are all the flat earthers? And I'm here asking him if I can use it for commentary, and he's going, no, you can't, fuck off. So if that's not hypocrisy as well, I don't know what is. Did you hear what I said? Did any of it make sense?
I agree with you, totally.
No, I was talking to Josh, because I sort of got a little bit into it with Josh earlier.
I understand. I mean, I think I get it.
Do you want me to quickly go through it?
Yeah, just real quick.
Okay, from where we left off. Okay, he lied to the FMS, the flight management system, and told it he was 2 degrees south of Dulles. And the system threw up an error, as they always do, because it's not where they last left the plane or where the plane remembers last being. So it threw up an error, but the software allows the pilot to manually put in the GPS coordinates again, and if you put it in a second time, you're sort of insisting that's where you are. And when he did it over the Pacific on the right latitude, it went, okay, if you say so, I'm in the middle of the fucking ocean. But he put it 2 degrees south of Dulles, and you'd expect the system to go, okay, if that's what you say, but it went, nah, bollocks. I've obviously failed because you're insisting that you're right, and it shut itself down. So then what he did, and this is the crucial part, is that he lied to it again, and he said he was on the right longitude, so Dulles Airport, but he was on 38 degrees south rather than the correct location of 38 degrees north, right? So essentially the Earth turning, the Earth spinning, which is what this guy is saying it's measuring, should have been exactly the same, right? Even to the point of going in the same direction. It's going from west to east. So he fires that up, and it brings up its error, its normal error, and he puts in by hand the GPS coordinates again. And I was thinking to myself, shit, if this thing accepts it, then I don't know how to explain that. I can't explain that. But what it came up was and said was, nah, I'm obviously wrong, I'm failing, and shut itself down. Now the reason I think it did that was because it's not measuring the speed of Earth turning, it's measuring the speed of the ether turning above it, and it knows at Dulles Airport, or it's measuring through its own capabilities, that let's say the ether spin is 500 miles an hour in Dulles Airport, and you've just told it on the ball, you've told it you're the exact opposite and equal in the southern hemisphere, and it should be going at exactly the same speed. But it failed because it's not measuring the speed of Earth turning, it's measuring the speed of the ether turning, which at 38 degrees south, let's say it will be 1500 miles an hour, and that's a massive difference. So it shut itself down and said, no, you're definitely not there, or if you are, then I'm failing.
I'm fucked.
Yeah. Then I don't know what I'm even here for. I'm taking the day off, I'm building a bong, and you can fly the fucking plane, pal. So what that confirms to me is that it is measuring something because it knows its latitude, but it's not measuring Earth's rotation, because if it was, you would have been able to fool it like you did over the Atlantic or over the Pacific. You would have been able to fool it because it would have been going at the same speed on the bottom of the ball as it would have been going at the top of the ball. Does that sort of make sense?
I think so, yeah.
It's worth watching the video just to cement it into your head that you're seeing what I'm seeing, because to me, I think it's an ideal example of how it doesn't work on a ball, but does work on a flat.
Assumption I gave, whilst obviously I'm biased, I only assume I'm biased, but the assumption came through the logic of what you were telling me, matched what you would expect it to do on a flat plane, not what you would expect it to do on a ball, given computer programming, unless if the computer program was for a ball, unless of course the computer programming understands that there is a significant difference between the movement of the ether at 36 degrees south compared to 36 degrees north.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what I'm struggling to see is that the results that it threw back, how that proves that we're on a ball. Because if anything, it proves that it found a massive discrepancy between what it was measuring at Dulles Airport and where it was told it was in somewhere in South America. Is that it how does that prove that we live on a ball? Doesn't it, as far as I can see, there's no QED there. There's nothing that says there you go.
Flat or ball either way. It says there are significant worrying problems as to why the programmers have put a level of assurity in the pilot to redefine, is it longitude, as opposed to why a pilot could never redefine latitude.
Yeah, if it's incorrect.
It's,
But that in itself
that's-
shows you that the ring laser gyro can determine its own latitude without question. And if you do question it, it shuts down and says, okay, you're on your own, pal, fly it yourself if you're not going to listen to me. So it shows that it's not listening, it's not measuring the speed of the Earth, because if it was, then the 38 degrees north would have matched with the 38 degrees south, but it didn't match so badly that it shut itself down, because on the flat plane 38 degrees north has no resemblance in ether spin to 38 degrees south. In fact, it's probably 3 times out in the south.